Begin the current Daf Pesachim Daf Kuf Yud. Begin 4 lines down at the top of the Yomit. We continue the theme of the previous Daf, discussing that of zugos, of doing things in pairs, which we brought up. That how could you do the Dalit cases? It's pairs, and then we had 3 answers to explain why it's not a concern of zugos by the Dalit cases. She's sponsored by Kalzich and Cheska to enter the Pesachim Daf was joining us for today's Daf. Someone is going to discuss in today's Daf, like we mentioned, are zugos, which means doing things in pairs, can make a person susceptible to harm from demons. And the discussion our Daf includes which items are susceptible, are certain even numbers excluded, how concerned one should be, and which items combined. It's not necessarily everything. Gemara discusses advice from the lead sorcerers, how to handle a sorceress, and the concept of kol dekopet kapti bahadei. If you're particular, they're particular with you. If you're not particular, then they're not particular with you. So we're going to current down, 4 lines down, top kufyud. Turn about Linda Bryce, continuing this theme with zugis. Says the Bryce if someone drinks doubles, meaning he drinks in pairs, his blood is on his head, meaning the sin of his death is his responsibility, because he, so to speak, killed himself. Again, because you're not supposed to drink in pairs. Now, on that Rabbi Yehuda, he says, when we say this is only if he didn't see the street between every single cup. But if he saw the street, then there's a lot of continued drinking in pairs, because every time it's a hefsek that he went out to the street, it wouldn't be a problem about pairs. Now, Amr Rav Ashi says, Chazina Rav Chananya Bar Bivi, that kol kasan, every cup, he would go out and he would go to the street again to make an interruption. Now, it says the Gemara, we didn't say that drinking in pairs is going to be problematic. Only if you're drinking and then you're going to go on a journey, on a trip. But basically, if you're drinking in the house, then it's okay. Drinking in pairs is not going to be a problem. Now, Amr Bezeri says, Valishan, to go to sleep, is kolotzis l'derech means like going out on the road. That's also problematic if you drink pairs and then you go to sleep. And Amr Papiyosa says, kolotzis l'bezekis, if you're going out to the bathroom, kolotzis l'derech it's like going out on the journey. In other words, anything that's a little susceptible to injury, to sakana, like going to sleep, or 6 days of death, going to the bathroom, or going on a trip, anything that you're not in the safety and security of your home, drinking in pairs could be problematic, and the shadim could harm the person. Says the Gemara, but in the person's house, then it's not a problem. But Rava, money kishur, he would count the beams, meaning when he was drinking this cup, he would look at that beam. When he drank his second cup, he would look at the beam next to that, and according to the amount of the beams, he'd be careful. He'd know how many cups he drank to be careful that he wouldn't drink in pairs. And every single time he did this, he did this, even when he wasn't going on a journey. So you see that there's a concern about drinking in pairs. He's drinking in the shul, and he's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, see how many beams there are here in the shul over here, how many cups the person is going to drink. Now, when the Abai would drink 1 cup of wine, so his mother would hold 2 cups of wine in her hand, so that it should be 3. And every time that he would do this, she would prepare another one, so that it should never come that he should forget and come to having to drink pairs. Again, you see that even if he's just drinking at home, she would hold up another 2 bottles to make sure that, okay, you drank 1, you're not going to drink 1 more, you're going to drink 2 more. Now, from Nachman Yitzchak, when he would drink 2 cups, his attendant would hold up 1 cup. Chad kasa, if you drink 1 cup, mankale trei kasa b'trei yadei, then the attendant would hold up 2 cups in his 2 hands. Again, to always make sure that you didn't end up at an even number. So you see that even at home, it's problematic. Says the Gemara, Adam chashav b'shani. A distinguished person is different because the shadim, they give over their life to harm a Talmid Chacham. They can do whatever it takes. These are what the harmful spirits are. It's always the equivalent of the opposite of the sanctity of these kedusha. So the shadim, even if at all costs they're going to go ahead and try to harm them, but a regular person, if he's drinking in his home, is not concerned about zugas. Now, the Gemara continues regarding what's the number of cups of wine that are problematic and which are immune from zugas. So he says, a sarah kaises, if someone drinks 10 cups of wine, there's no concern about pairs, and for sure more than 10 cups. Now, the Gemara explains, it goes according to his reasoning, because Uli says, someone says, a sarah kaises tikna chacham beis ha'aval. There were 10 cups of wine that were instituted to drink in a mourner's house. As the Gemara brings in the first parak, Subas explains the reason for these 10 cups. But one thing is that there's 10 cups that chacham instituted to drink in the beis ha'aval. Now, if you would think to say that the 10 cups have a problem with pairs, how could Rabbanan come and institute something that could bring to a situation of danger? Obviously, the 10 cups is not a concern. Now, but 8 cups would be problematic because of pairs. Now, Rav Chizda, Rav Huna, they actually disagree, and we keep on seeing they're taking it less and less. They say no. We find the pasuk in the Midbar, the third bracha of Birchas Kainim, says Yisa Hashem Pana Veilecha B'Yosem L'cha Shalom. The seventh word is Shalom. Now, Shalom, peace, is a blessing. Obviously, L'Tayvim Mitzdarf. It's only going to combine for the good. In other words, if you drink 6 cups and now you drink at the 7th cup, so then it's going to combine to nullify that it's not a pure anymore. But L'Rolim Mitzdarf, it's not going to combine for bad. If you drink 8 cups, meaning another one, an 8th one after that, the 8th one's not going to combine with the 7th one to be harmful, and it's a logical thing, because since Hashem blessed the Jewish people with peace, which was the 7th word, so you can't say that the number 7 is going to cause harm in the world, and therefore, when you have 8, it's not problematic, because the 7 is not combining with the 8. Avashita, yes, but 6 cups, well, that would be a problem about peers. Rabbi Yosef, as Rashbam explains, as the generations went on and on, they were more lenient with peers, and they kept on downgrading the amount of numbers that would be harmful. They both say, oh, we have another pasuk in Birchas Kainim, the second one, because anyone knows Birchas Kainim is 3, 5, and 7. So vichuneka, that was the 5th word. That will only combine that the 4 one before, that will be 5. That will be an odd number. But to combine with the 6th one to be an even number, that won't combine. So therefore 6 is also not a harmful amount of cups. But number 4 is a problem of peers. They both say no, v'yishmerecha. Right? We know the first bracha of Birchas Kainim has 3 words. Number 3 is only going to combine for the good. L'rolim mitzvah, not going to combine for the bad. And therefore, that's why even 4 is not problematic. Rabbi goes according to his reasoning, because the Rav Afkinu Rabbanim about cases. He went and he sent them out with 4 cups of wine. Was many times when they would take leave of him, he would give them to drink. And sometimes he would only give exactly 4 and then send them on their way. And Avagav the Itzig Rabbi Bar Levi, and even though one time one of the students, Rabbi Bar Levi, actually got harmed after drinking 4 cups when he sent him away, he wasn't concerned for this. Why? Because he says, you know why he got harmed? Because he used to ask me in the middle of my drasha. He embarrassed me. I didn't have what to answer to him. That's not what they say over here, but that's possibly one of the interpretations. And he used to ask in public, and I got embarrassed. So that's why he got punished, but it wasn't because of number 4 that he drank before he left on this trip. Now, Amar Rabbi Yosef, the Gemara continues different statements of Yosef Shida, is a demon that's brought many times in Shas. Some of Yosef says, Amar Yosef Shida. Yosef the demon told me, Ashmedai, who is Malka the Sheda, he's the king of the demons, Mamuna hu akula zugi. He's in charge of all these harmful spirits of the peers. A king is not going to be called a damager. In other words, a king, it's degrading for a king to just go in and cause damage. And therefore the idea is we're not concerned really for peers because it's not something that's so common. But at times it could happen that could be damage. Therefore, someone that wants to be stringent and do some type of a safeguard could do. But again, you don't have to really be so particular because he's the king and he's not going to just be breaking things. Whereas Ikadar Malal Hagis are those who say exactly the opposite. Adrabah, to the contrary, Malkud Eschanahu, he's a furious king. He's a king that is out of control. And actually, he could do whatever he wants to do. Shamel, Pirates get the last like there's a halacha in the laws of kings that a king could breach walls and he could do whatever he wants to make a path. They must be not protest. And therefore, to the contrary, you have to be very careful with the Zugais because he's in charge and he can do whatever he wants to harm a person. Now, Amar Papa, continuing on the Yosef Sheda, he says that Yosef Sheda told him that betray with 2 cups, katlina, they kill a person because of drinking in peers. Barba loy katlina. If you drink 4 peers, they don't kill him, but barba maskina. But if you drink 4 cups, they harm him. Betray by 2 cups, bein meshagi bein mez, when the guy did it deliberately or by mistake. Barba, when he drinks 4 cups, is only made only if he did it deliberately, b'shagi loy, but not if he did it by mistake.
Obviously, that Yosef is not very reliable. It says Yosef wanting that he is not makpid or the king and he's not makpid over here. It says, and 2 we kill and 4 we already harm.
Who are you saying? Are you saying if the version is that he says that?
But it's the same Yosef Shita, so maybe it's not that reliable.
Right. Well, first of all, how do you have to? I mean, depends which interpretation. He's saying the one pshat he said that he doesn't usually harm. The other pshat said that he's the Melech Peretz Gedi, he can do whatever he wants to. Right. So the Gemara continues, says, wait a second. Now the Gemara goes, okay, now we know how dangerous it is regarding the Zugais. But the Ishtali, the Ikri V'Nav, whatever the person got, and he went out after having drank Zugais. So my takante, what should the person do? So it says the Gemara, linkid zikfu. What he should do is he should take his thumb, the yad dimin of his right hand, and he should put a biyad dismali into his left hand. Then he should take v'zakva dismali biyad dimin. He should take his left thumb and put it in his right hand. But then he should say like this: Atun va'ana, you and me and you. Atun, you, va'ana, and I. Hatlas is 3. Now again, he's saying this 3 because he wants an odd number. The even numbers are problematic. Now if he hears back that they saying Atun va'naha arba, you and I is 4, namely he should respond Atun va'naha chamisha. No, I and you are 5. Again, you should continue making it. It doesn't end up in pairs. If he hears them saying Atun va'naha shita, again, whoever's talking over here, the demons saying I and you are 6, namely he should tell them Atun va'naha shiva, I and you are 7. The Gemara tells how uvda ad me'elachad. There was such a story, and they went up till 101, meaning the shade kept on counting pairs, and the person kept on counting one more, not to end up by a pair, and upakashida, and the demon burst because of the pain, because he kept on going one more. Okay, 98, 99, until they got to 101, the demon just burst. Now, Amar Meima says, Amar li rishtinu de noshim kashvanias. The one in charge, the mistress in charge of all the sorcerer women, who is in charge of them and teaching them, she told me like this: if someone encounters these women that do sorcery, you should say like this: Chari chamimi, hot excrement, b'dikula vazya, with baskets that are torn and have holes in them, lipamaychu to your mouths, nashid the charashaya, the women, the sorcerers, karach karchaychi. It should be the will that the hairs that you have, that you use to use kishas, to use sorcery, should fall out. Parach prachaychi, the wind should lift up those crumbs of bread that you use for sorcery, as a continued base. If dur tablonaichu, your spices that you use should be blown away. Parcha zika lamarika chadata, and the wind should lift up your new spices, your saffron, the naktisu nashim kashvanias, that you hold in your hand when you use for sorcery. Adchaneni, as long as you had mercy that they had mercy on me from Shemayim, from heaven, and I had mercy on myself. V'chananchi, and I had mercy on myself, and you had mercy on me. So lo yasisu l'goy, so I didn't come between you. Hashda yasisu l'goy, now that I came between you, kar chananchi v'chanananchi. So the word kar chananchi actually is like 2 words, kar and chanan. Now I know that chanan, that the mercy was cooled off on me, and also my mercy was cooled off, that I didn't have mercy on myself. That's what a person should say if it comes amongst these sorceress women. And now the Gemara goes back and says that in general, b'marava, l'kab de azuki. In Eretz Yisrael in the West, they weren't particular about pairs, they didn't really pay so much attention to it. Whereas Rav Dimim and Arda in Bavel, kabed afila arush min dechavita, he was so particular about it that, you know, when they sell wine, they have certain markings in the barrel to see how many aphis, how many measurements it is, and he was particular that it shouldn't come out on a, sounds like certain type of people we know, shouldn't come out exactly on that even number. That's how particular it was with Zugas. Now, how over there actually was a story, Opaka Chavita, and the barrel burst because of the problem about Zugas. But the Gemara ends off and says, Klol de Milson, this is an important idea. The general rule is, Kol de Kapid, whoever is overly particular about this, kapti bahadeh, they're particular with him, the demons, to harm him. Or the loy kapid, whoever is not so particular about it, kapti bahadeh, so they're not so particular with him to harm him. Now, what says the Gemara, to be concerned, we require, and that is even someone who's not particular, that they're not particular with him, but you have to still be concerned a little bit, because as Rashbam explains, if you're going to say that if you're not particular, you're not going to be particular at all, so then why does the Gemara even have to mention the idea about peers? The Chum should have just said, don't be particular with Zuki, so they won't be particular with you. Obviously, there is such a concept, and again, it's just not such a big thing. So you have to be concerned a little bit, but not so much. Don't overdo it, because then it's actually going to be harmful for the person. Now, Kiyasar Abdimah came to Bavel. He explained actually the source for this halacha. He says, Shtei Beim, he says, 2 eggs, V'shtei Geizim, 2 walnuts, Shtei Kashum, 2 cucumbers, V'davar Acher, and one other thing, one other produce that we're particular about Zugas are halacha Moshe B'Sinai. It's a halacha tradition from Moshe B'Sinai that they're harmful. And the sages, they were in doubt, they didn't recall, they didn't know what is that other thing. Because Rabbanim, the whole Gezer Rabbanim about Zugis is all because that one other thing that we don't know what it is. Now, another rule is, V'hada Amaran, Asara, Tamanya, Shita, Arba, this that we said in the previous daf, on Amid Aleph, that with 10 and 8 and 6 and 4 that ain't b'mishum zugi, there's no problem about peers. That's only if there's no sorceress women. But that was only said regarding harmful spirits. Regarding sorcery, I feel that even more than 10, we are concerned because there's the idea about the mazik and the demons, and then there's people that could do sorcery that, again, even numbers seem to be a susceptible area, and then you have to be careful even more than that. As the Gemara brings the story, there's a certain person, the Gershon of the base, he divorced his wife. So she got married to the owner of a pub, of a tavern. And now every day this ex used to go ahead and drink beer in that tavern. So the wife, his ex-wife, she would go ahead and try to do sorcery on him, but she wasn't able to affect him because he was very careful not to drink beer. One day he drank a lot. He didn't remember how much he drank. Up until 16, he still was lucid, and he was able to be careful about not to drink in pairs. After 16, he already started, now he wasn't so clear anymore, and he wasn't careful. And he went out having had 16, having an even number of drinks. Also, when he was walking, so this merchant bumped into him. Some say he realized that this guy was in danger of his life. Amala, he said, there's a dead man walking over here. So this guy, this is maybe the source of where hugging a tree comes from. This guy came, he went and he hugged a tree. So Rashbam says because of the illness and the worry, he was leaning on the tree. So tzavach dikla. So actually the tree dried up because of the sorcery that took possession of this person. Upakahu, and he burst. Again, that we see that even if there's no problem at Zuga is for the mazikin over a certain amount of even numbers, but for sorcery, there is a concern like this ex-wife had done to her ex-husband. Amrav Avira says, Ka'aris, that of trays. If someone eats 2 trays of cooked dishes, the kakaras, loaves of bread, there's no problem about peers. As the Gemara explains, Klal the Milsa, the rule of this is, anything that's finished by a human being, like a loaf of bread, a person has to make it, there's no problem about peers. There's something that was made by the hands of heaven, it's a natural thing, that's a food item. They were concerned for that davar acha, that other thing that we didn't know what it is, therefore they made exhibit all peers, but that's only something that's b'dei shemayim, which are peers and all things like that, but like a loaf of bread that you have to make, there's no concern. Additionally, nimlach, if someone changed their mind, that's not considered adding on to the previous thing, it's a new thing. Oirach, a guest, is also, the halacha is that there's no halacha about peers because the guest doesn't know if they're going to give him more. Skip chanus, a store. There's no problem about peers. So actually, Rashbam has 2 interpretations: either that he drank in 2 stores, so we don't say it's like 2 cups, or primary pshat he likes is that a store, if he drinks peers in a store, they're not particular the mazikin on them because it's not really considered as a kvias. The story just brought before, that man drank in the store. So that was kashafim, that was sorcery that his ex-wife had done to him. But the mazikin, they're not particular unless you're having a major kvias, which is not the case in a store. Nimrach, like we said, you change your mind, it's not considered peers. Oirach, a guest, who again doesn't know if he's going to have more to drink, so therefore every single cup is like nimlach, is like, okay, that's like a new one. Imam Shemzugi is no problem about peers. Isha, a woman who's not a distinguished woman, who's like a guest in that way, because she's also not established like having a drinking session, because women don't usually do that. Imam Shemzugi is again, it's also no problem about drinking peers. But if she's a distinguished woman who she drinks wine, then we are concerned again that it could be considered as one unit of drinking. Amar Chinna B'Rinda B'Shui says asparagus, which in Persian they would call cabbage asparagus, and that's what we learned in the Dharma. If someone takes a neder from cabbage, he's forbidden in this asparagus, which is a drink that they would make out of cabbage and wine. They would drink it every single morning for medicinal purposes before they ate, and therefore it would combine for the good and not for bad because it's something of medicinal purposes. So therefore, mitzaref l'taiva, it combines only for the good. So let's say if you drank 2 and you drank this one, the 3rd one, so then it's going to combine to remove it from peers. But the aim is for the raw, it's not going to combine for the bad. That is, if you drank 1 cup and then you drink this asparagus drink, then it's the second one, it's not going to combine with the first one because again, it's a good thing and they cannot combine as a bad thing. Amar Ravina B'Shmei Rabbi says, Zugi, if let's say someone doesn't know if he drank pears or not. So l'chumra, you go stringently, in other words, you drink another one. So if you drank pears, since your intention is to combine this, or combines for the good. And if you didn't drink a pear beforehand, now you're drinking another one, so it's like you're changing your mind. It's like nimlach. And they're attacking to combine, to make it bad, to make it now into a pear. V'amalei, some say actually no, zugi l'kulo. Now if you're not sure regarding pears, you should go leniently, in other words, don't drink another cup. Because since you're drinking, you're revealing your intention that you're particular about pears. And if initially you didn't have pears and now you drank, so it's going to combine to make it together as a pear. So therefore rather don't drink. And even if you had originally drank in pears, maybe since you're not particular about it, they won't be particular with you, and therefore that's two different interpretations if you're not sure if you should drink another one or not. Now Rabbi Yosef says, continue on what's mitzdarf and what's not. He says, trade the chamr b'chad l'shikhr. If you drink 2 cups of wine and then you drink 1 cup of beer, lo mitzdarf. That's not going to combine to be number 3 to remove it from your status of having drank in pears, because a cup of beer is not going to combine for the wine. It's not as chashuv in that. It's not considered removing the 2 of the wine. Whereas trade the shikhr b'chad l'cham, if you drink 2 cups of beer, 1 cup of wine, so mitzdarf, then the 1 cup of wine is considered significant to add on to the 2 of beer, and it's going to remove it from being zugas. And the samonech, and actually a difficult mnemonic, which this is a mission of Masechtas Kelim by the laws of Tumah. The mission there is discussing regarding the minimum measurement of what's considered an element of being a kabel tumah. So let's say a mapitz, a hide, is going to be 5 by 5. A machzelis, a reed mat, has to be 6 by 6 tfachim. There's certain minimum measurements for certain items to become tumah. So the Mishnah says, Zehakal, this is the rule. Let's say you have a reed mat that's 5 tfachim, which again has to be 6 tfachim to be kabel tumah. So it's not kabel tumah, but it's attached to it min achamer mimeno. You have a tefach from the mapitz, which is a hide, which is more stringent, because there you see its minimum measurement is less than that. And so you have a tefach of mapitz that's attached to the machzeles. So since it's more stringent, like you see in Mekabel Tumah, even the lesser shiur, so it combines to it, and therefore Tumah, it's Mekabel Tumah. But if minakal mimeno, but if let's say you have from a hide, from a mapitz, 4 tvachim, and you have a tefach of a machzeles attached to it. Now, machzeles is more lenient because, like you see, it needs a bigger shit to become tamei. So then tar is not going to combine with it. So here also the same idea. If you drink 2 cups of beer and then you drink 1 cup of wine, which is more chamer, more chashiv, so it's going to combine since it's more chashiv. Again, but if you take the 2 cups of wine and 1 cup of beer, it's not going to combine because it's less chashiv. Similarly, Amar of Nachman Merav, another type of combination. Trei kamei taka. If you drink 2 cups of wine before the table is brought, before the meal starts. Chada taka, 1 by the meal. Again, the 1 by the meal is considered chashiv. It's a kaviyas, so it's tarfi. That cup of wine is going to combine to make it not a zugas. Chad mikamei taka. If you drink 1 cup before the table is brought, betrea taka, 2 by the table. So the limit starfin. Then they don't combine. In other words, since you have 2 cups of wine by the table, so it's not going to help to combine the 1 cup of wine beforehand, and it's going to be like you drank zugas. Now, Rabbi Shloimy asked, he says, what do you mean? What do you think, we need to fix the table? We need to fix the person. What do you mean, the guy drank 3 cups? So it shouldn't be a problem. He disagrees. He says, it shouldn't be if you drank 1 cup before and 2 by the table, it shouldn't be a problem with zugas, because ultimately he drank 3 cups. Now, the Gemara says, the Kuli Yama, but everyone, even according to Rabbi Sharsha, that he doesn't consider the table as significant, meaning he's okay if you drank 1 before and 2 by the table, that is not a problem with zugas, but he would agree, treya taka, if you drank 2 by the table, v'chad labasar taka, and 1 after the table is already taken away, that loinit starfi, that 1 after is not going to combine, and it will be problematic because by the table, which is the more chashuv one, you only had 2. Ki hahi ma'aseh Rabbi bar Nachmani, like there was a story of Rabbi bar Nachmani that he required that the table be brought back. The Gemara brings the Bama Tzei and Asech as a playland. Now, if you would think to say that 1 after the table is already removed will combine to the 2 at the table, so why couldn't he have just drank a 3rd cup after the table was removed without bringing the table back? Obviously, that no, there's a certain kaviyas at the table, he needed the table to be brought back, and then have a 3rd cup, and you see, because 1 after that, everyone would agree, it's not chashav enough to remove the zugas that you have at the table. Now, Amar Yehuda Mishmol, he says, kala masuk, whatever is diluted, in other words, is a mixed beverage. If let's say you had wine that was diluted, and then after you drink a different beverage that was also a mixed drink, so mitzdaref, so it combines whether for the good or for the bad, because since both of them are mizugin, are mixed drinks, so it's like one type, and they'll combine, again, for the good or for the bad. Now, however, as a Getin Tav of Kavir Alpha and Aleph, Chutzim Namayim, except for water. What does that mean, except for water? If you mix hot water with cold water, that's not considered mezika, a mixed drink, because it's all the same water. Who cares if it's hot water or cold water? But at the end of the day, it is one type and it is one name. Now, therefore, if you drink in the beginning yain mazik, drinking mixed water is not going to combine because it's not considered a mixed drink. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees. He says no. Afilamayim, it says even water, if you mix hot and cold, it's considered a mixed drink. But Amar Papi says, we didn't say, and he's going under Rabbi Yochanan, that says even water is considered a mixed drink. Rabbi Papi comes to explain that to qualify, we didn't say this is going to combine with other mixed drinks. If you mix hot water with cold water, and cold water into hot water, that according to Rabbi Yochanan is considered a mixed drink of water that'll combine with other mixed drinks. Let's say a mixed drink of wine, of a cocktail. But if you mix hot water to hot water, and cold into cold water, according to everyone, that's not considered as a mixed drink, and it's not going to combine with other drinks to make it either yes peers or no peers. Something discussed in today's Daf, Pesachim Daf Kuf Yud, was we drink. If someone drinks peers, so Dame Bereisha, the blood is on his head because he drank zugas. But this is only if he didn't go into the street. If he went into the street, it's not a concern. It's like starting over the session. Now, this we said in a house is not a problem, but at Adam Chashu we said that's going to be different. And according for him, the sheidim on Moisa Nefesh, and even then it would be harmful. We said 10 cups is not a problem about zugas because we see that we instituted in the house of Aval. Like Marsha says, because if we have Vam Shabbat Dushas with 10, 10 is a unit of 1, so it wouldn't have a problem with zugas. 8, some want to say that they're also because the third bracha in Berachas Kanim has shalom, so it's not going to combine for the bad. 6, some say because Bechuneka. 4, some say because of Yishmerecha, which is the third word, is not going to combine with the fourth. Now, although we said that these are not problems for zugas, for shadim, but like the Gemara had pointed out, for kshafim, for sorcery, it would be a problem. Like we had that story with the Gerusha that did this to her ex-husband. Additionally, if something is finished b'dei adam, there's no problem with zugas at all. Because the whole halacha started from something else, which was b'dei shemayim, we just didn't know which one it is. So to a woman, or a guest, or in the store, or change of mind, or asparagus, which either because these are things that don't have a kvias, like the first 4, or asparagus because it's a good thing, it will not combine for the problem about being zugas. We had 2 different versions regarding Ashmadai, if we have to be concerned for the damages of the shadim or not. On the one hand, he's a king is not going to degrade himself and go break things, or no, to the contrary, he's a crazy king, he gets upset, and therefore he might be harmful. We said that if someone drinks 2 cups, so 2 things. First of all, they kill him, and that's even if it's b'shegi. Whereas if he drinks 4 cups, there's only damage, and only if he does it deliberately. And the Gemara discussed what should someone do if he drank peers, put his thumb of one hand into the other hand, say certain things. In the West, they weren't particular about zugas at all. Although on the other hand, we find in Babel that they were very particular about it. And the Gemara concludes the Klal de Milsa is, whoever's particular, they're particular with him. If you're not particular, they're not going to be so particular. But again, you have to be concerned a little bit. But again, don't go out of control over here and go to an extreme. So as we said, because the source came actually from eggs, cucumbers, and walnuts, and one other thing. We didn't know what that other thing is, halacha meshmas. And therefore we're particular for all zugas, because it's like chamer sakanta, yes and isur, we're very concerned for something of danger. Now, we said like you have 2 cups of beer, 1 cup of wine, so the wine is more chasher, it's going to combine. Like we said, la halacha, the laws of tumah, whatever's mechuber to something that's more chamer, is going to make it tameh. Here also, the more chamer thing will combine. If you have 2 on the table and 1 after the table, that we said everyone's going to agree that's not going to combine. Before, then we said that that's machlekes, if that's going to be. But regarding after, that everyone agrees not going to combine. And we said all mazug is like one type of drink, all mixed beverages will combine. And machlekes regarding water. But again, everyone agrees it's only hot water into cold water, but hot and hot or cold and cold, we're not considered as mazug. Ain't there any time. So,